Wait, let me see too.
They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it, so that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Sir, Iranians have released a new Lego-style animation.
There are no good Zionists, and other notes. I don't believe you can be a good Zionist any more than I believe someone can be a decent Nazi. The ideology itself describes a major character flaw. I cannot take seriously the idea that some ethnicities or religious groups are inherently prone to nefarious behavior. It goes against everything I've ever learned about the human condition over the course of my strange adventures on this planet. I absolutely do believe, however, that there are political ideologies whose adherents are universally dogshit people. If you've been watching the incineration of the Gaza Strip and thinking it's good, or thinking it's complicated, or thinking it's an unfortunate development that can be blamed on a few bad apples in the Israeli government but doesn't reflect Israel's nature as a whole, then you're a piece of shit. You're a horrible human being. It really is that simple. If you can look at Israel starting all these wars, bombing the fuck out of Iran and Lebanon and Palestine, passing laws to execute Palestinians exclusively while sparing Jews from the same sentencing for the same crimes, and still fail to recognize that the Israel experiment must be aborted, then you have not developed a functioning conscience. You have wasted your time on this planet. You have not managed to mature into a morally healthy human in all these years you've been alive. There are Zionists who are vegetarian, who are nice to their pets, who give money to charity, but there are no Zionists who are actually good people. John Wayne Gacy did charity clown shows for hospitalized children, but he was still a serial killer and a very bad man. His abusiveness eclipsed any other kindness he may have performed, and became his defining characteristic as an individual. Being a supporter of the Israel Project is exactly the same. It doesn't matter what else you do with your life if you stand on the side of a man-made murder machine which is fueled by the blood of the innocent. You're just plain awful. Israel's Knesset has passed its notorious bill to execute Palestinians convicted of terrorism in bogus military court show trials. The law is explicitly crafted to exclude Jews and solely target Palestinians, which is about as strong a sign you're looking at apartheid as you could possibly imagine. As the Times of Israel explains, the law effectively enshrines capital punishment for Palestinians alone, as it explicitly excludes Israeli citizens or residents, and Palestinians alone are tried in military courts. Israelis are tried in civilian courts. For years, Israel apologists have been admonishing me for calling Israel an apartheid state. For years, liberal moderates have been saying it's extreme for me to call Zionism a fundamentally racist and murderous ideology. And yet, here we are. Can't wait to hear the Hasburists try to spin this one. On Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio slammed Iran for spending its money on weapons instead of investing it toward the benefit of the Iranian people, saying, "Imagine if instead of spending billions of dollars supporting terrorists or weapons, Iran had spent that money helping the people of Iran. They would have a much different country." Again, this is an official from the United States of America saying this. Literally the funniest country that could possibly utter this criticism of another country's military spending. Violence in the Middle East spiraled into a hot war with Iran because the world didn't have the sense to tell Israel it got what it deserved on October 7th. As Trump threatens to blow up Iranian desalination plants and U.S.-Israeli attacks on civilian targets get more and more egregious, an article from Middle East Eye titled "Iranian Livelihoods Are Being Blown Apart by U.S. and Israeli Bombs" paints a picture of the way people's lives are being ruined, even among those who are fortunate enough to survive the onslaught. "They said they were bringing us freedom. Is this what freedom looks like?" says a 40-year-old man in Tehran after his small optical store was obliterated, despite no military targets being located in the area. And yet, the next time the U.S. wants to bomb a country to topple its government, we're going to see its diaspora cheerleading the attack and telling everyone this time it really is about bringing freedom and democracy to the victims of a tyrannical regime. There are suckers in every country. It's hilarious that there are billionaires poisoning every facet of our society and making everyone miserable, and starting insane wars and incinerating the biosphere. And there are people trying to tell me I should be angry at Muslims.
Hezbollah used a quadcomito drone equipped with a missile and an FPV camera system to destroy a Merkava tank at the Al-Abad site in southern Lebanon, a qualitative operation highlighting the development of the resistance's capabilities in direct clashes. The total number of Merkava tanks targeted reached dozens on previous days, with 21 tanks in a single day. These operations are not merely numbers, but a declaration of a field victory proving the resilience of the resistance in the face of the Israeli incursion, with devastating losses for the occupation reaching hundreds of tanks and casualties. A major and notable escalation revealing the scale of the confrontation and the gradual escalation controlled by the Islamic resistance in Lebanon, according to field data. For the first time in the history of the confrontation, the number of operations carried out by the Islamic resistance in Lebanon against the Israeli occupation has reached 93 operations in a single day, recording the highest tally since the escalation began on March 2, 2026, according to Hezbollah data and media monitors. This intense offensive activity comes in defense of Lebanon and its people in the face of ongoing Israeli aggression, with a cumulative total of more than 942 operations so far. The operations resulted in massive destruction of Israeli Merkava tanks inside southern Lebanese territories, where the resistance announced the destruction of 27 tanks in areas such as Al-Kantara, Al-Taybeh and Debel, with confirmed casualties using guided missiles and loitering drones.
Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show.
I knew it, Melania. I knew it, so please just be quiet.
What's happening? Oh my God. Get cover! They're everywhere! Jesus. Get down! Leveling the whole close! No, no, no! I can't. What's happening? Oh my God. Get cover! They're everywhere! Jesus. Get down! Leveling the whole close! No, no, no! I can't.
Iran's army on Tuesday unveiled its first underground base for fighter jets designed to withstand possible strikes by U.S. bunker-busting bombs, state media reported. The base, named OGAB-44, Eagle, in Persian, can accommodate all types of fighter jets and bombers, in addition to drones, the official news agency IRNA said, releasing images and videos from inside the base. The exact location of the base was not revealed, but state media said it was, at the depth of hundreds of meters under the mountains, and capable of withstanding bombs by strategic U.S. bombers. In May last year, Iran's army revealed an Air Force base for drones under the Zagros mountain range in the west of the country. The latest unveiling comes the day before Iran marks Air Force Day, part of the build-up to the 44th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution. OGAB-44 is one of numerous tactical underground air bases for the Army's Air Force built in different areas of the country in recent years. It can prepare fighter jets to counter possible offenses, such as those practiced by the US and Israel in their recent military drill, according to state media. Iran has mostly Russian MiG and Sukhoi fighter jets that date back to the Soviet era, as well as some Chinese aircraft, including the F-7. Some American F-4 and F-5 fighter jets dating back to before the revolution are also part of its fleet.
По первому цели что? Пуск. Есть пуск.
Иран выполнял все взятые на себя обязательства по известному соглашению, о котором мы сейчас упомянули. Все. К Ирану невозможно предъявить никаких претензий. Затем Соединенные Штаты в одностороннем порядке решили выйти из этого соглашения, а европейцы продолжили требовать от Ирана, чтобы он выполнял взятые на себя обязательства. Но это, вы уж меня простите, но это какой-то бред. Не Иран же вышел из этого соглашения. США вышли. Бывший президент Трамп взял и принял решение выйти из соглашения. А европейцы говорят, да, это не очень хорошо, что американцы вышли, но вы, иранцы, все соблюдаете. С какого хрена-то иранцы, извините, так по-русски звучит грубовато немножко.
So we had an earlier guest call it coercive negotiation, this idea that the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth calls negotiating with bombs, that they keep threatening to up the ante and escalate, and both sides are doing it. But what's the risk of that?
Well, the risk, of course, is that Trump, at the end of the day, does not have any escalatory pathways out of this war. He can escalate. He can bomb more places in Iran, although at this point they're bombing orphanages and universities, so it's not really clear if they're really going for some of the earlier objectives that they said. But nevertheless, he could do this. But what will the end result be? The end result will be that the Iranians will strike back in some of the GCC countries. And so far, with one or two exceptions, the Iranians have not significantly damaged the oil infrastructure in the region. If it were to do so, oil prices would shoot through the roof, because it's no longer about closing the straits, it's also about the amount of time it would take to rebuild that infrastructure. So instead of oil just being squeezed for a couple of weeks, it would be for months, perhaps years. That would throw the entire global economy into a depression. So yes, Trump can escalate, but the Iranians can counter-escalate in a way that is far more damaging to Trump than it is to the Iranians. And just take a look at Trump's poll numbers right now and the manner in which it now appears that the Republicans are going to lose both the House and the Senate in the midterm elections. And a lot of that has to do with higher gas prices, which leads to higher food prices and general inflation.
And the ripple
so
effects
Trump
go
is
on,
already shooting himself in the foot, but with this war, and he will do so even more if he intensifies it.
So how
The myth of U.S. military supremacy is undone. The U.S. hegemony as a whole is being buried in the Persian Gulf. And now, he's asking more money from Congress and more money next year for next year's budget. And I wonder, I hope at some point U.S. taxpayers realize this, from both sides of the aisle. You are being extorted, you are being blackmailed, and you are being lied to constantly.
Mm-hmm. You were lied to in Syria. You were lied to in Vietnam. You were lied to in Iraq, and you're being lied to here now in Iran as well. There's no question that we as Americans have been lied to so many times. Hey, let's get to, as promised, this situation with the Houthis. So apparently Yemen has now entered the war, and here's the spokesperson, Artie, for Yemen, coming out and saying, yeah, we're in. Here it is.
The Yemeni armed forces have carried out the first military operation using a barrage of ballistic missiles targeting sensitive Israeli military sites in southern occupied Palestine. This operation coincided with the heroic operations carried out by our brothers in Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The operation successfully achieved its objectives. Our operations will continue until the declared objectives are achieved and until the aggression against all fronts of the resistance ceases.
So you think about it, right? I mean, the Israelis are now getting hit by Iraq, Iran, Syria to a certain extent as the bridge between Iraq and Iran and Israel. Lebanon. So they're at war with Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, and now the Yemenis as well in the form of the Houthis. All while they're hearing reports in the Wall Street Journal that the Americans are getting ready to get the hell out and say, hey, you know what? We tried, but you're on your own.
Iranian state media is now claiming that combat units from Russia's Chechen Republic have declared themselves ready to deploy to Iran if the United States launches a ground invasion. According to Press TV, these forces are loyal to Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov and have told Tehran they will fight alongside the Iranian armed forces if US troops move beyond air and missile strikes onto Iranian soil. The reports describe the ongoing US-Israeli war against Iran as a religious war and say the Chechen side is framing any direct intervention as a jihad, a battle of good versus evil in defense of the Islamic Republic.
No negotiations. You are not negotiating and you are not going to negotiate as of you know right now.
As of this moment that we are speaking, no, we don't need any negotiations. But, of course, you should take into account that Iran is a rational player. Iran is not looking for war. Iran never denied peace talks. But there should be proper conditions for us to negotiate. Even now, if the conditions for substantive negotiations are established, we can enter talks. Our esteemed foreign minister has repeatedly announced that among our conditions are that we should reach sustainable peace in the region. A ceasefire is not sufficient for us. A ceasefire means that the enemies will regroup, and then they will attack once more, like what happened in June. And then, after several months, you recall they started the war again. And you may remember that Benjamin Netanyahu had a phone call with Mr. Putin a couple months ago, and he said to Mr. Putin that Israel does not intend to attack. And Mr. Putin conveyed this message to Iran. So Netanyahu didn't keep his word. Even after giving their word to Mr. Putin, they still attacked us. On the other hand, Trump has invited us to negotiate, but they have attacked us 2 times during negotiations. So, a sustainable peace to start negotiations is our first condition. The second is that the aggressor should be known and should be punished. The third is that they should pay compensation and reparations for the damage caused by the war. Some of the things that they did, such as the killing of the supreme leader, cannot be compensated. But the material damage, they should pay reparations for. The next point is that the sanctions should be lifted. They must recognize our right to peaceful nuclear energy. These are the conditions that Iran has today. So anytime they meet these conditions, we can start negotiations, because Iran is not looking for war. But at this very moment, as we are talking to each other, we cannot see that these conditions are being met.
And I imagine you would also ask them to remove the sanctions, and they would ask you to diminish your ballistic missile capacity and to guarantee them that you will not enrich uranium to use it for a nuclear weapon.
Our positions are completely clear and unambiguous. It is clear that we are not looking for an atomic bomb. We've already said that we are willing to provide the necessary guarantees. The reason for this is that there is no room for an atomic bomb in our defense and security doctrine. But regarding enrichment, we insist that we must have enrichment because we need fuel, because we have a power plant. A few years ago, we wanted fuel for the Tehran power plant, which is 5 megawatts, and its products are for medical and therapeutic use. We wrote a letter to the International Atomic Energy Agency and requested fuel, but no country was willing to provide it.
We're dealing with a president who is a narcissist and a bully, and he's been bullying Britain. He's been rude about the armed forces, about our role in Afghanistan. The king is head of the armed forces. And I think a rebuke of some kind is necessary. I don't see that the full panoply of a state banquet and a speech at Congress is appropriate. I think it's a misuse of the king, who has to do what he's told by the government. But I think it's giving Trump more than he deserves. I mean, let's just remember, when Trump came in, you remember Starmer with this? This is a
ratting
letter.
It out, the big moment in the Oval Office.
This is a letter.
Yeah.
It's only the second time in history that somebody's been invited. And Trump was all over it, you know, coming to the visit in Windsor.
Isn't that just what you have to do to grease the wheels of
our relationship with the United States is not one of mutual affection. It's a deal. It always has been. It was a deal in the First World War when they came in late. It was a deal in the Second World War when they waited till Pearl Harbor happened. It's always been a negotiated deal. The relationship has been a good one, but it's not as if we're sort of bonded with friendship. You know,
well, I don't know though, because
it's not like a sort of romantic relationship.
Well, except the one thing in the world that Donald Trump doesn't seem to treat like a deal in a business meeting is when he meets the king. He seems to actually really like him.
And so what?
Well, that's a way of Britain getting some leverage with Trump.
We may have got some leverage on the tariffs in the early stages, but I would suggest that now Trump has gone rogue on the war in Iran, and he's behaved, well, brutally truthful. He's been sort of disparaging Britain's role and NATO's role and Europe's role. It's a very bad political moment to send him the present of the king with all the panoply that involves. And a state banquet while he's bombing the hell out of Iran and people are dying all over the Middle East, a state banquet for the king? Really? No. It would have been appropriate, I think, to have said, quite simply to the president, through the usual channels, look, this is probably not quite the right moment for the king to come here. Let's postpone.
стрелок 100-й бригады.
Прокопчук Эдуард Вячеславович, 100-я бригада, стрелок, был раньше водителем, стал штурмовиком.
Но установка в Константиновке довольно тяжелая, постоянно летают дроны.
Ваши везде практически, и наши, связи нет. Непонятно, где кто. Да, куда идти непонятно, куда выходить. И сзади ваши, и спереди ваши, и сбоку. И вообще непонятно, что делать. Поэтому решили решение сдаться.
Мы все время находились в подвале, и элементарно только выйдешь, и через несколько минут обратно прилетает российский дрон, и мы практически оттуда не вылазили. У нас заканчивалась провизия, элементарно бутылка воды, ее даже на несколько дней не хватало. То есть, да, было тяжело с провизией.
امسال بمبا میخوره کف ایفا پر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا امسال بمبا میخوره کف ایفا پر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا میگم میخوا فتنه کنم بریز خیابون پهلوی های کمی خالی شده جیباشون هرچی میخوای داد بزن جا طرف به منافع آتیش میزنی تو پیتامون دشمن هر کی پشت تو طول سگ دوید پیچیده بوی پول بد جوری ولی کاری میکنیم بریم مثل اربابت ویدیو برسونیم با هوش مصنوعی همه بچه ها جنگی شدن سرا سنگین 1 کیلو اکلیل سرنج توش زندگی پر پستی بلند ولی گنده گوی جلو ما واسما بلند بود دست ما جا طرف میبینی از 58 و سینمون پلاک شک دیده نمیشه به هیچی کرد یاسین نمیخونیم تو گوش خر و اولاق تفریح امسال چهارشنبه دشمن سوزی تو اسرائیل تحریم امسال چهارشنبه سپاه دنبالتونه مثل اسرائیل امسال بمب میخوره کف ایفا بر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا امسال بمب میخوره کف ایفا بر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم و قاتلوهم حتی لا تکون فتنه فرزندان ملت ایران در سپاه
امسال بمبا میخوره کف ایفا پر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا امسال بمبا میخوره کف ایفا پر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا میگم میخوا فتنه کنم بریز خیابون پهلوی های کمی خالی شده جیباشون هرچی میخوای داد بزن جا طرف به منافع آتیش میزنی تو پیتامون دشمن هر کی پشت تو طول سگ دوید پیچیده بوی پول بد جوری ولی کاری میکنیم بریم مثل اربابت ویدیو برسونیم با هوش مصنوعی همه بچه ها جنگی شدن سرا سنگین 1 کیلو اکلیل سرنج توش زندگی پر پستی بلند ولی گنده گوی جلو ما واسما بلند بود دست ما جا طرف میبینی از 58 و سینمون پلاک شک دیده نمیشه به هیچی کرد یاسین نمیخونیم تو گوش خر و اولاق تفریح امسال چهارشنبه دشمن سوزی تو اسرائیل تحریم امسال چهارشنبه سپاه دنبالتونه مثل اسرائیل امسال بمب میخوره کف ایفا بر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا امسال بمب میخوره کف ایفا بر میشه اعلامیه فوتا روی دیوار چهارشنبه سوری تل آویو آتیشه به یاد بچه های مینا
Привет! My name is Oreshnik, Putin's favorite toy. And I carry 36 surprises for my enemies.
Deployed in November 2024.
I am one of Russia's most advanced intermediate-range ballistic missiles. Solid fuel. No setup required. Na zdarovia! But here is the thing. I split into 6 warheads. Each one releases 6 more submuniments, 36 targets, 36 surprises, with a range of up to 5,500 kilometers. I can pay a visit to NATO headquarters in Brussels in about 17 minutes. By the time European countries finish arguing about who pays for defense, I have already landed. Putin said it himself. There are no means of intercepting me. From Russia with love. Follow War Tune. Every day, a new weapon, a new story.
切换手套和枪在握把控制。看，我现在已经被狼群包围了。召唤机器狼的方式有几种呢？ 除了语音控制，还能够通过我手上的数据手套让它看懂手势。除此之外呢，如果想在射击时实时操纵机器狼，还可以通过联动设施对它进行操作。那么在我身边的呢，就是由中国兵器自动化研究所自主研制的最新一代机器狼群。相比于上一代，它们有了更强健的身躯、更智慧的大脑、更实战化的本领。那么最新一代机器狼呢，可以挂载更多的武器设施。那么我们看到这只机器狼身上背的是微型导弹，这里呢还有榴弹发射器。那么这样的火力呢，能够对目标进行火力压制。根据任务不同呢，这些机器狼有着3个响当当的名字。负责侦查的叫暗影，负责打击的叫浴血，负责保障的叫极地。那么我现在所在的这个场地呢，能够模拟城市废墟。今天呢，将在这里，机器狼要对模拟城市巷战中的目标进行清剿。接下来呢，我们就在实战化的场景当中来看一看极地、暗影、浴血的硬核实力。相比于上一代，它还在增稳方面有了很大提升。看，他们现在迅速通过了坑洼不停的废墟，几乎是跑起来的。它的最高时速能达到15公里，这样的爆发力让它在城市废墟、暗滩、沙滩中穿梭，如履平地。它的4肢关节有12个自由度，模仿真狼更加灵活，能够随时切换步态。背负25公斤，还能轻松跨越30厘米的高台，这是因为它的电机功率大幅提升。这种适配复杂地形的能力，让机器狼能在山地斜坡冲锋，也能在城市废墟渗透，真正实现无死角作战。不仅如此，它们还能协同决策。每只机器狼实时共享感知信息，形成共享视野的大脑，自动协作，共同判断，一起行动。此时抵达目标区域后，2只暗影机器狼协同构建了地图，并传到3连屏的指挥终端。3连屏指挥终端是机器狼群的指挥作战室，能够实时收集前方信息，统一调配多只机器狼，甚至是空中的无人机，做到空地一体化，协同出击。现在我和负责保障的极地机器狼已经跟上了前方阵地负责打击的浴血机器狼的脚步。此时呢，浴血机器狼正在抵近模拟目标，准备对模拟目标发起射击。那么他们正在调整射击的姿态。它搭载的激光发射器一旦完成瞄准锁定，模拟目标头顶就会冒出烟雾，标识命中。通常在实战当中，机器狼是自主识别、自主瞄准，由人工来进行确认打击。根据任务不同，它们还能够更换不同的武器载荷。
浴血1号前进。
操作人员通过语音指令遥控浴血1号，背负4连装微型导弹，率先模拟瞄准目标。
发射。
抵近目标后，借助数据手套操控浴血2号，以榴弹发射器模拟对群体目标实施火力压制。深入战场时，则通过电子握把操控浴血3号，搭载191步枪，模拟完成精准打击。机器狼群由此构建起轻重搭配、梯次衔接的系列化火力体系，显著提升单兵伴随作战效能。
Remember, Houthi rebels launched a significant attack on a commercial cargo ship in the Red Sea near Yemen on July 7, 2025, an operation that heightened global concern over the security of vital shipping lanes. The cargo vessel Eternity Sea was reportedly struck by sea drones and rocket-propelled grenades fired from fast-moving speedboats, according to the Times of Israel. Security firm Ambri confirmed that men aboard small boats, along with explosive-laden drones, jointly targeted the ship in a coordinated maritime assault. After enduring repeated Houthi attacks over several days, the stricken cargo vessel finally sank on July 9th, marking the end of a prolonged and violent engagement. Although the Houthis did not immediately claim responsibility, they later released video evidence showcasing the attack and the ship's final moments at sea. The Greek-owned Eternity Sea had been navigating toward the Suez Canal when it came under intense fire, forcing the crew to abandon course amid heavy damage. It became the second cargo ship to be targeted in the Red Sea within just 48 hours, underscoring the growing frequency of Houthi maritime operations. On July 6th, another vessel, the Magic Seas cargo ship, came under attack in a sustained 4-hour assault launched by the Houthis in the same region. Houthi media later released footage depicting the Magic Seas carrier sinking after the strike, confirming the full extent of the damage. An Iran-aligned proxy group may soon enter the escalating Middle East war, as multiple intelligence reports now suggest a growing likelihood of their direct involvement. Yemen's Ansarullah movement, commonly known as the Houthis, is reportedly prepared to join the conflict on Iran's side, further intensifying the regional power struggle. According to fresh reports, Ansarullah forces are ready to assert control over the critical Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a move that could threaten one of the world's most vital trade routes. Analysts point out that Houthi rebels have previously demonstrated that shutting down this strategic maritime choke point is well within their capability, underscoring the severity of the threat. It's worth remembering that the Houthis have long played a crucial role in coordinating attacks that targeted the Israeli regime and its interests across the region. Following Hamas October 7th attacks and Israel's subsequent retaliation in Gaza, Houthi forces began targeting commercial vessels in the Red Sea in a show of solidarity. The group even attempted to impose a naval blockade on Israeli-linked ships and cargo vessels, aiming to choke maritime access and disrupt regional trade. That blockade significantly raised pressure on Israel's economy, forcing merchant ships to divert through longer, costlier routes around Africa to reach their destination.
That's great. It starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, an aeroplane. Lenny Bruce is not afraid of a hurricane. Listen to yourself churn. World serves its own needs. Dummy, serve your own needs. Feed it up and knock. Speed grunt, no strength. The last of the planet. Fear of height, down high.
Fire in a fire. Represent the 7 games. Government for hire at a combat site.
reporters baffled Trump, 10 of the crop. Look at that low plane, fine then. Overflow. Population, common group, but it'll do. Save yourself. Serve yourself. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And Trump feels fine. King Emperor lies for now. 6 o'clock TV hour. Don't get caught in foreign towers. Slash and burn. Return. Listen to yourself churn.
Lock him in uniform, book burning, bloodletting, every motive escalate. Light a candle, light a voters.
Step down, watch your heel crush. This means no fear. Cavalier, renegade, steer clear.
Tournaments of lies, offer me solutions, offer me alternatives, and I decline.
And I feel suspiciously fine. Tel Aviv under cluster rain. Hezbollah waves keep crashing. Alien missiles over the city. Interceptors firing. Explosions crashing.
Ramat Gan and Holland under fire, civilian streets bleeding in the night.
Trump presses NATO and China for warships to force Hormuz back open wide.
Iran holds the strait against America and LA's power plant threat still hanging in the sky.
Time Hezbollah extends the pause. 5 more days on embassy attacks. Conditions, no strikes in Beirut suburbs. No residential hits in Baghdad or beyond. Yet PMF positions still get hammered. Explosions rock Baghdad airport zone. Camp Victory area under fire again. And entire incoming threats remain. Out in Ukraine, drone strike deep, Primorkel terminal burning on the Baltic. For refinery flames rising high. Ish's energy machine crippled tonight.
Back home the debt has crossed the line. $39 trillion and climbing. Billions added every single day. The interest storm is on its way.
The American sheep keeps scrolling blind. They don't see the path that's right behind. When the system cracks and the dollars die, your savings and your world say goodbye.
Shock is coming unless you stock up now. Food, water, silver, ammo, get ready somehow. Grid down is real, blackouts on the way. Wake up before it's too late to pay.
It's the end.